there when you take a look at the number of shots that Arsenal had. Obviously only 2 of them on target. Perhaps they were not going to win this game anyway, regardless of the red card. They stay 8 points behind leaders Liverpool as it stands in the table right now, and Liverpool will have the chance to go 11 points clear tomorrow if they can beat Manchester City. Let's hear from Mikel Arteta after today's game.
Yeah, very disappointed. Obviously very angry as well. And even though all the ball that we had and 20 shots of that, I never felt that we were at the standards and the level that we needed.
When you say anger, it's anger at yourself?
Yeah. We have to be. I hope we are very much, because we didn't hit the levels today, and I am very much responsible of that. So I am very, very, very angry.
He's very angry. Don Hutchinson is joining us now. Don, that is a huge blow to Arsenal's title hopes.
Massive, and he talked about being angry there. He should be angry because he made a strange decision with about half an hour to go when he took Declan Rice off, former West Ham player, for Zinchenko, which was a real strange one. But from minute one, they weren't at it. When Liverpool have dropped a couple of, they drew the last couple of away games, you thought there was a chance for Arsenal to bring it back to 5. Calafiori had a chance 10 minutes in from distance. Apart from that, that was it. Apart from that Trossard shot that you just shown there in the second half, they were really poor. Arsenal fans are frustrated at the football that they're watching because Arsenal are playing with this sort of arc where Nwaneri gets the ball on the right-hand side, they drops it into Ødegaard, they then filter it out to the left-hand side. It's predictable, then they come back in that arc to the right-hand side. I don't think it was a striker issue today that cost them any sort of points with Mikel Merino playing as a false 9. I just thought West Ham done a job on them. Ollie Scholes deserves a mention. I thought Jared Bowen, Kudus, excellent. Edson Alvarez had his best game in a West Ham shirt. Wan-Bissaka with the assist. But from an Arsenal point of view, that was a really, really poor, passive, non-aggressive, nothing really about them, just a limp performance. And obviously, they lost all the points.
And it's a result, Shaq, that plays right into Liverpool's hands.
Absolutely. I thought Liverpool dropping points in midweek as they did, you wondered how that would come back to haunt them. Had Liverpool won that, all of a sudden you're 10 points clear with a game, you've played a game more, albeit I thought psychologically that would have taken a toll on Arsenal. Now Arsenal have come and handed that initiative right back to Liverpool. Against a West Ham, and I take Don's point, West Ham for me probably arguably played their best game of the season, but that's a very low bar because I don't think West Ham have been all that impressive. I will say though that I feel the striker crisis played its role not only in this one, but probably in what's to come. And you saw Mikel Merino introduced, albeit a very good effect against Leicester, but a very poor Leicester team, a Leicester that conceded 4 yesterday. And all of a sudden that gave Arsenal, or certainly that game, a different perspective. But up until that point, you wondered where the goals were going to come from. Mikel Merino is not the long-term solution for Arsenal in terms of goal scoring, certainly not if you are trying or intending to win the title. And that was on evidence again today. The highlights speak for themselves. And now Arsenal find themselves in this weird position with games to come. You've got Forest to come next. You've got to run about 6 games that 5 or 6 weeks ago I would have said all 5 or 6 were winnable. Now all of a sudden, looking at Arsenal's last 2 performances, you're not so sure anymore. A lot of those teams that are just kind of sitting anywhere between 6th and 10th or 12th, you feel pose a threat because of that lack of any goal-scoring threat. And as this game went on, the more and more I just kind of felt that we're back to the old Arsenal where it's set pieces or bust. And more and more teams have started to figure Arsenal out in that perspective. So you just wonder, you just wonder how frustrating and how much that will impact their title run.
I personally got utterly bored of this whole set-piece thing weeks ago, because the cart does not pull the horse. The horse pulls the cart. You have to get your fundamentals correct within your game. And that was a sideshow. Yeah, it's handy now and again, but it's not going to get you over the line to win a Premier League because you're a little bit better in set pieces than others. It became a big story. And let's be quite honest here. And at least Arteta's been honest today. There's been no guff and waffle about referees. And Lewis Skelly, as Shaq said, was a red card. If you don't think that's a red card, you have no idea about the game, right? Because there's nobody stopping him from getting on David Raya, who, by the way, is 40 yards off his line anyway. The talk of the Arsenal striker crisis. They had a striker crisis before they had a crisis. Yes, they lost Gabriel Jesus to a nasty injury, who had got himself back in the team and I think had scored 6 goals in 5 or something like that. But he's not a natural, and it's not going to last over a long period. And yes, Kai Havertz had something like 15 goals, but go and look up where he got them and who they're against and how big those goals were. It's padding stats. So they already had a striker crisis because they didn't really have one. Now they just have to adapt, and they did not adapt well enough. And Arteta said it himself in his quotes. This was not about missing a front man today. It was about a general all-round game. There is absolutely no doubt about it now. This is Liverpool's title to lose. No doubt about it. And it's unlikely on recent evidence. And I've thought Arsenal could hang in there, but it is unlikely on the Leicester victory and today's game that Arsenal are going to be able to put the run together needed to close down a Liverpool side that has, as Shaq said, just opened the door ajar slightly, and Arsenal have not walked through it.
What do you think Arsenal's problem's been, the biggest problem, Don?
The biggest problem is, without a doubt, that the injuries at the top end of the pitch. It's a mentality thing for the players that are playing when they see all their best players, the majority of their best players. I mean, don't forget Martin Odegaard was missing for 2 or 3 months as well, so they got him back. Then as soon as they get him back, their star player, Bukayo Saka, goes out the team. Then Havertz, who's an emergency false 9, goes out the team. And then Gabriel does an ACL, which has an impact on what have they got left. It's either Trossard through the middle. We had a good discussion, I think me, Shaq and Craig last week, about potentially Lewis Skelly playing at left back and Calafiori playing on that left-hand side instead of Trossard. But I look at the side and look at the goalkeeper, the back four and the midfield 3. That's their strongest side. So it's the front men that's killed him. And anyone that just says, oh, that's an excuse, is living in fantasy land, because you take 3 or 4 of Liverpool's best strikers or attacking players out of their team, it's going to hurt them, like it did when all their centre-backs got injured when they were going for the title, like it's done for Man City this season with their 7 or 8 first-team injuries. So it does have an impact. But Craig's spot on. This striker thing's not happened over the last 2 or 3 months since January. This has been happening for 2 years or more. So Arsenal put a bid in for Ollie Watkins and tried to lowball Aston Villa with about a £40 million bid. They weren't prepared to go to the 60 that Villa might have took before they then sold John Duran. So if Arsenal had anything about them, knowing what was round the corner or trying to second guess what was round the corner, why didn't they just bid the 60 for Ollie Watkins and get the deal done? So it's almost like Arsenal don't really not know what they're doing at the top end with a hierarchy. Mikel Arteta's got a group of players that are still good enough, but he's lost loads of players at the top end of the pitch, and it's a mentality for the guys that are playing behind him, because they're looking and they're going, well, where's Jesus? Where's Havertz? Where's Saka to pull off a bit of magic? Odegaard can't do it on his own. Then you're relying on a 17-year-old Ethan Nwaneri, who's going to be an absolute amazing player, but you can't put it on a 17-year-old. And you look at the likes of Trossard and Mikel Merino, who's a midfield player at best, who hasn't even been in the side, half the side this season. It's too much for them.
But this is Arsenal. Look, I have no sympathy here, because they should have went out in the summer and spent the money in the position that they most needed. They did not. And they didn't do it in January again with some half-baked bid for Aston Villa's best striker. It was never going to happen. And I think Arsenal knew that. It was all smoke and mirrors. But then you go out and late on in August and you bring in Raheem Sterling. To do what? I'll tell you what to do. To help beef up when there's injuries. That you don't have to rely on kids. And Don mentioned young Nwaneri, who's a great young player. But he's a kid. And one of the reasons you bring in these squad players is to come in and make a difference. These are on the manager, these are on the club. The recruitment, or lack of, and poor recruitment, has left them in a situation where when key players are out, they don't have enough left to go to the well. They don't. And that's partly on the club and partly on Mikel Arteta. He was a big proponent of bringing Raheem Sterling in, and that was to fill these holes. And he's not been able to do it because, why? He wasn't playing well enough at Chelsea over the past period, whatever it was, that Chelsea did not want him in the squad, and yet Arsenal felt that was going to be the answer. A team that was one of the favourites to win the league title, a team that many thought was going to do it this year, were going to overrun Man City. nobody thought Liverpool was going to be in this position. We thought it was going to be Arsenal and City going for it. And let's be frank about it. They've got it wrong. They have an amazingly strong back line. They are strong in the middle of the park, but they did not address properly the areas that they were weak in last season or the season before. And that's on the manager and that's on the club.
Don, today's red card as well means that they lead the Premier League in red cards this season. That made it 4 for Mikel Arteta's men. Discipline an issue. Sorry, 5. Yeah, discipline an issue for them.
5. Obviously it is, yeah. I mean, the Lewis Skelly one today was a stonewall red card. I mean, I was on comms for the game and called it within 1 second of it happening. The fact that Raya was 40 yards away and was backtracking, it had to be a red card. The only surprise, I actually thought it was poor refereeing from Craig Pawson in the first place, not issuing the red card. He issued a yellow and waited for VAR to help him. So that was a referee decision that obviously he can improve on. But from an Arsenal point of view, you go through the season and you've got a couple of months left and you're on 5 red cards. And, you know, that is a discipline issue. That's not good enough. And that's something that the manager has to address. He can't keep saying they're unlucky if players are kicking the ball away because they know the rules. He can't really have too much of a go at Lewis Skelly because it is a red card. He took a sloppy touch and the youngster got himself in a real spot of bother and kudos was on him. But certainly going forward, you have to address it. If you're a manager and the coaching staff, you have to address that going forward, whether it's now or at the start of the next season. You can't be going into a season if you're going for any title with 5 red cards as it stands.
It's a problem, isn't it?
It is. And listen, and I think also there's different contexts to this in that I don't want to say Lewis Skelly was unlucky, but mistakes happen. You take a poor touch, and kudos to his credit, reads it and is on to him in a flash, and everything kind of happens, and you fall and you bring Kudus down, and it's a red card. That's fine. The things like Declan Rice kicking the ball away, Trossard going through the back of, who was it, Silva, I think it was, against Manchester City. Those are decisions and moments that more experienced players, or which they both are, should not be doing, should not be a part of. Those are the ones that are avoidable. If somebody makes a mistake, and a mistake is a part of the game, it's a part of being human, and in trying to make up for that mistake, you kind of compound it, you say, well, it happens. Those other little cheap ones that have happened during the course of the season and have cost them either immediately in those games or those players then having to sit out, those are the ones that Arsenal simply have to get some kind of control of, some kind of rein on from players who should know better.
Craig, I've been there. Craig, I've been there. I've been at the chicken run. I tell you, Shaka might have played in the game. I've been there running down the right-hand side at the chicken run playing for West Ham, and the linesman went past me. The linesman ran past me. They will have, and I said it on comms today, the West Ham players and Graham Potter will have so much fun with James Ward-Prowse. They'll replay that on Monday. They're going to absolutely slaughter him. It's going to be hilarious.
They are the only ones.
I tell you what,
they are the only ones.
That's the kind of incident in football, you know, with the mentality we have in the dressing room, is that when they go in on Sunday or Monday, is that there is no video of the game, and that is on a spill, and the lads are just killing. That was brilliant. I was watching the time going, and at the time I didn't know it was James Ward-Prowse. I just thought, who the hell? Who's that? And then Shaq came in, he was laughing. That
was so good. That was.
I know it's not much for Arsenal fans to hang on to today. You can't score a goal, but you got to bet it very fast.
A little something. Let's see if Don can give them something to hang on to when it comes to the title odds right now and how much this will factor in to how it all plays out at the end of the season. What are your percentages now, Don, at this stage after that loss for Arsenal?
80-20 Liverpool's favour, but if Liverpool win tomorrow, forget about it, it's done. 99-1 I would give them. So what a chance for Liverpool tomorrow. What a chance. And you talk about mentality and the dynamics and how you feel going into game and the lift you can get. I mean, the Liverpool players wouldn't have expected, they'd have hoped, but they wouldn't have expected Arsenal to drop points and get beat off West Ham today. So they should bounce into that game against City tomorrow.
And this piles on, just to wrap up somewhat on Arsenal. Of course, Mikel Arteta isn't under any immediate threat for his job. That would just be rather silly talk. I mean, 12 months down the line, if we're still having the same conversation, I think we're in a different scenario of a lot of people getting very impatient. But it certainly piles on the pressure that there's no Carabao Cup, they're out the FA Cup to Man United, who we know is a poor side. They're falling over themselves in this, trying to catch Liverpool. They have a match double-header in the Champions League. against a Dutch side in PSV that they are expected to win. They are expected to win. And anything, I'm not suggesting he's going to lose his job if they don't beat PSV, but it's just going to make the doubters doubt even more. And do they pick the season up somehow and have a go at Liverpool, or is it a deep run in the Champions League? Or is it feeling sorry for ourselves? We don't have this and he's injured, and which one is it? Is it the chicken or the egg? Where are we with this Arsenal team? They're either going to give up the ghost, or they're going to go away off the back of this result, roll their sleeves up and have a right fight and dig to the end of the season. And I think in the next 6 weeks or so, we're going to find out a lot about these Arsenal players, whether they're defeated and they're down and they're going to give up, or whether they're going to try and pick themselves up and finish the season strongly.
And we're going to see if Liverpool can make it a double-digit lead at the top of the table when they take on Manchester City tomorrow. These are the predictions of most of the panel. Don and Frank Leboeuf both going
very
for
negative
a
from
draw
the Hutch.
here. Very negative from the Hutch for Liverpool as it stands. We will be talking more about that game, of course, on tomorrow's show, ESPN FC. Be sure to be with us as we look back on it.